Dr. Jazz. I was so happy when I saw that you have a new one out, Staycation.
Yeah, Staycation, yes.
And when is it coming out, or did it already come out? Because I tried to somehow search it. It was on digital streaming, some platforms, but I couldn't somehow find it everywhere. Like, when was it officially released?
Well, I mean, I guess it's officially out because
It's out already. Oh, well, okay, super.
I mean, he sent me a bunch of CDs, and then I think he puts it out there, and a couple people told me they saw it or heard it or So I still haven't done my part yet, though. I still got to because if things are happening, then I got the CDs. Okay, great, and then
sure.
I'm thinking about my plan of how to do it. Because I'm not really that technical savvy. But I understand what's happening. So
sure.
Yeah. Let me get this thing out of here. This thing in the middle. You see that this meeting is being recorded by host?
No, I don't have that.
Should I push got it?
Yeah, I think you just push got it.
I don't want to push leave meeting. I want to push got it. Right?
Just got it. Yeah.
Okay, it's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I'm not that savvy.
But how did this one happen? I mean, it's like quite after I don't know, 7 or 8 years, or even longer. Like Life at Smalls, what 2012? It's 10 years actually, right? Since your last...
I didn't understand the end of the question.
I mean, how did this one happen? The new album, because I think the Life at Smalls was like 2012, right?
Oh yeah, but I had a couple. My brother and I put a couple out. One called Erie Avenue. That was with Lovano. Lovano was only on a couple tunes.
Yeah.
And it was quartet. My brother, myself, Dave Lalama was my brother, piano player, and myself, and Kenny Washinton and Peter Washinton.
Yeah.
We call it Erie Avenue because that's the street we grew up.
Oh wow. Okay.
In West Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. And that's why we hired. I mean, I hired Kenny and Peter because they're great. But their name had the same. It was like the Lalama brothers. And I always kid them by saying, and the Washington sisters, it's like I've known them a long time. So,
sure.
It's not disrespectful. It's disrespectful, but it's in a man kind of way.
Internal joke, between you guys. Yeah.
And then, of course, Lovano's like our brother anyway. We've known Lovano for years. So he agreed to play on a couple tunes and that was it,
Yeah.
Then we did another one called Crepuscule. I don't know. It's called. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about tunes that our parents gave us because my mother was a singer, and my father was a drummer.
Oh, really?
So they met on the bandstand, and there was a lot of music in the house. Especially like big bands and. My father liked, Sonny Stitt, Gene Ammon, Stan Getz, those guys. My mother liked the singers, Ella, blah, blah, blah. And so we heard a lot of music, and there was a lot of standards. My mother would even sing them all the time, just being in the house,
Oh, that's beautiful.
So we said, songs that our parents, and we played duo. And then we also added my wife, who's on this one, Staycation. She sang on about, we did a lot of tunes because they were all just duo. So we added her in about 7, 8 tunes, and she sang, so it was trio.
Mm-hmm.
So those two were after the one that you mentioned about Live at Smalls.
Yeah.
So we did some stuff,
But this one is like, I mean, under your name. That's like the first one, like really after.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's what I mean.
You're right.
Like
that's just my name. Yeah.
How did this one happen? Like, was this a band that? I mean, I know you played with those guys. Like, I saw some Live at Smalls footage. In trio, I love the Bob Juice. That trio is so beautiful.
Yeah.
But how did this album happen? Like, what's the story behind it? When did you decide to do it? And
okay, well, I actually called Niels Renfrew, because I don't have a label. I used to be on Crisscross, As I said, Dave and I put it out ourselves, and then I called because I asked Joe Magnarelli for Niels, contact, because I know he recorded. And I called him and he said, yeah, okay. Now the thing about the Staycation was that I woke up, I was, it was during the pandemic. My wife was at home. I was at home. It was kind of a lockdown, so to speak. And my wife woke up and said the word staycation.
It's a nice wordplay. Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
So I wrote a tune called Staycation, and I wrote another tune. And maybe I called Niels, I think I called Niels prior to that, or I just thought that was a great name for a record, especially at that time, especially this time too. And then I called it A Family Affair because, I figured, I didn't use my brother on this one, but he wrote 3 tunes. I wrote a couple, Nicole wrote a couple, and Nicole's my wife, and Akiko and Joe Magnarelli are married. They're married. And Clifford Barbaro, I've been playing with for like 35 years. So I call it a staycation, a family affair. Because, there's a couple blood things in there. And like Clifford's the only outsider, but he's like family because we've been playing together for years. So.
Yeah.
So that's how that came about.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah,
everybody's involved, and that's what it is. It's a family affair.
It is. Yeah, I was happy to see that you have a record out under your name. It's not nice to see that always. That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's been a while. You're right. It's been a while.
Yeah, but it's nice. I'm happy that.
Thank you.
That you've done it.
I appreciate that. Thank
you. You have. I always loved, like ever listening already to the Tad Jones recordings. Mel Lewis, the 80s, and with Joe, the records, you have like really a recognizable sound when I hear you guys play. It's like, oh, that's Ralph, oh, that's Joe, oh, that's George. It's nice to see you as a band leader setting that you're doing it again. So it's beautiful.
Me and Lovano have been playing together for a long time. Even if he had a loft on 23rd Street in Manhattan, and we should play there all the time. And then we were on Woody Herman's band together. Yeah. And I used to hear him in Cleveland. I went to Youngstown State University College, and there was a club in Cleveland called the Smiling Dog Saloon. And they had Stan Getz, Freddie Hubbard, Art Blakey, Liebman with Grossman, with Alvin.
Really? Oh, man.
Herbie, Chick, so we would frequent this place. But they would always have an opening band, and Lovano sometimes would be involved. So I used to hear him play when I was in college. And, I think we talked a few times, but I didn't really get to know him until Woody Herman's band. Because that's when we spent, a long time on together,
Yeah.
And then we were in Mel's band together, like you just noted, So that's what I mean. He's like family in a way, because he's like my brother. It's like, and my brother played with him too on Woody Herman's band too. So he knew Lovano. So it's like a family affair.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I wanted to ask you, Ralph, you mentioned, you had music going on, from Sonny Stitt, Stan Getz, or whoever, regarding saxophone, but were these guys the first guys that kind of made you decide to go on a path of improvising and jazz? How did this story happen with you, with jazz saxophone?
Well, it actually happened before the saxophone, because my grandfather gave me a clarinet when I was 9.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I started taking lessons and practicing it, right? Okay, now check this out. So I went to a Catholic school, right? So there was a priest there called Father Mike, okay? And I was 11 years old. Okay, I was 11, so I've been playing the clarinet a little bit, right? So the nuns asked me and an accordion player to play something for his send-off, because he was retiring and moving to another parish or something. So I thought, man, we should play the tune Michael rowed a boat above the shore, hallelujah, that song.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we started playing that, we were playing, it was like a send-off, speeches, and we started playing it. And then, so it so happens that we kept playing it. So I kept, playing the melody. And then I started improvising. I said, man, I'm getting tired of playing this melody, even though I like the melody. But I just got so I just innately, I start improvising on it. I don't want to call it jazz, but I would call it I just start changing the melody a little bit. I just remember sometimes I would hit a wrong note and I would know it. I would know it was wrong, and I changed it, and we had to play. We might have played this thing about 30 times, over and over. And like I said, about the 10th time, I start changing it.
Variations,
okay.
kind of. Yeah.
So I start saying, wow, and then then I, like I said, my father listened to these records, and I heard the records too. And I started, really getting interested. I always dug the beat, of jazz. I always dug the feeling of it, even as a kid. It wasn't even like, all the notes and stuff. It was just more like, I said, man, it just hit me, doing the rock and roll of the time because I was a kid, at that time it was James Brown, I mean, the first solo I ever transcribed was Maceo, actually.
Oh man, seriously? Yeah. Wow, I didn't know. Wow.
But I always would listen to Sonny Stitt. At age 14 and 13, I wasn't that good to hear everything. I tried, but I couldn't make it. I couldn't get it sometimes. So as I got older, I got better at it. But I'm just saying, like, I started improvising at age 11.
Wow.
And then, I got deeper into it, as time went. Yeah, I got a saxophone at age 14. My father bought me, put it under the Christmas tree. I got it was called a Lamont. That was, it wasn't a Salmer.
Yeah,
but I started playing that, and I played in the rock band, started improvising like on James Brown, and like I said, I heard tunes and I started getting into that, and then that was it. I just went on from that,
So you were basically self-taught, like you transcribed and like what about scales and theory?
Yeah. I mean, I started realizing I wanted to take music up as a major in college, but I was still a clarinet player. I wasn't really majoring. There was no jazz saxophone, at Youngstown State at the time. Okay, but I still played the saxophone. Oh, I know. They started a big band there. My freshman year, but I wasn't in it because I didn't know anything about it. My freshman year, and I heard these guys practicing. I said, "Wow, okay." So the next year, I auditioned on the saxophone. Even though I was still a clarinet major, it had nothing to do with my major. And then I got in, and I started learning a lot more about, like improvising, like through theory and more hipper stuff to listen to. Not that Stan Getz or Sonny Stitt wasn't hip enough, but getting into like more Bird and more Sonny Rollins.
Sonny Rollins,
yeah, Coltrane, Joe Henderson, because the band director there, Tony Leonardi, who actually played with Woody Herman also. Not at that time, he was done, but he hit me to a lot of stuff. He was my teacher, basically, my mentor. And then I started, practice. I was practicing like I had a double major, but it really wasn't a major, technically. But for me, it was because I would practice the saxophone much as I was practicing the clarinet, try to, stay in the band. Then I started playing gigs with my brother. We started playing gigs, learning tunes and that kind of thing. So we were, it was cool.
Amazing.
Then I end up getting when I moved to New York. Oh, I know. One more important thing, I guess. My last semester in college, Tony Leonardi, the conductor, invited Thad Jones to be a guest.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we played. It was a tribute to Thad. Played not always. We played a lot of the big band stuff, and Thad was the guest. So I also played with him. He did a clinic and he did a quintet, and Tony threw me in there to, with the rhythm section to play with Thad. Yeah, that was a trip. Okay, so make a long story short, I talked to Thad. He said, "Look, man, if you want to do this, you should move to New York because that's what's happening. I mean, that's if you're really serious about doing it. And I was. By then, I was definitely serious. I didn't want to be a high school band director.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Because I didn't have the patience for that. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, even though I do teach, but it's a different level.
Sure, I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's a whole different. But the point of it is, so Thad encouraged me to come. Well, he said, didn't he? He said, "You better." He just said, "Okay, make it." Okay, now I'm making a long story short again. When I got to New York, I was here about 3 weeks, and I called him. He gave me his number. I called him. I said, "Dad, I'm in town." And he said, "You want to sub with the band?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "But this weekend I got a gig." He used to teach at William Patterson, him and Mel. So they had a gig there that weekend, playing quartet. He asked me if I wanted to play. I said, "Yeah." So I went there. Wow. And believe me, you talk about a kick in the butt. It was George Mraz, Mal on drums, George Mraz on bass, Walter Norris on piano, Thad, and little old Ralphie, playing right out of 3 weeks in New York. So I played with him, You know, I even got paid, you know, and then I subbed a little bit on the band, you know.
Yeah.
At that time it was Frank Foster and Gregory Herbert, I think.
Oh wow, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and I subbed, you know, once in a while, you know. Then I got a gig with Woody Herman. I wasn't in New York for a while. Then I went with Buddy Rich, and I wasn't in New York. But I was still, when I was home, I was playing, but I wasn't subbing that much because I wasn't around, you know. And then Mel Lewis, now Thad left the band, moved to Europe. And then Mel Lewis, it was the Mel Lewis Jazz Orchestra, and I was done with Buddy Rich and all that stuff. So I used to go down there and hang out with my friends, you know what I mean, in the band, you know. And then I start subbing in both chairs, like Gary Friedeck and Lovano, and one of them would miss, so I was subbing a lot, you know.
Wow.
And Gary Friedeck finally quit, and I got the gig.
That's what
I'm still there, you know.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. Still a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Does that make sense, that story?
Oh man, yeah, but I want to fill in the gaps here a little. How did the gig with Woody Herman happen and with Buddy Rich? I mean, you went to New York, and how did these go?
Okay. Well, I was there about a year, and they needed a tenor player, Woody Herman, and a guy, Harold Danko.
Yeah,
Harold
sure.
Danko,
I did the interview with Harold. Yeah.
Yeah, he recommended me. Bill Bird,
Harold was it?
Okay. Trumpet player, but he would hire people. You know, excuse me. So Woody, I mean, so Harold, he didn't live in Youngstown, but he went to Youngstown University. He lived in Pennsylvania, like real close, probably about there. So Youngstown's right on the border between Pennsylvania and Ohio. So he lived like about 20 minutes from Youngstown, but in Pennsylvania. So anyway, I knew Harold because I got there. I think the year I got there, Harold graduated, but I kind of met him or something, and I went to his house and jammed, you know.
Okay.
Because like I said, it wasn't far from Youngstown, so I knew him. And then he moved to New York, you know. And I moved to New York, and then I kept in touch with him. And then when they needed a tenor, they called him, and because he lived in New York, so they called Harold. You know, he knew tenor player. He recommended me. And then I ended up getting a gig, and then, for a while, and then, met Lovano, like I said. And then I came home, and then probably that was in 78, I think I got out. 77, maybe. And then I got the gig with Buddy Rich in 80. And then I stayed there for about a year and a half, 81, and then, but that time in between, I was just playing regular gigs, jamming a lot with people, and trying to, play some jazz gigs, but still playing some regular gigs too, just to pay the rent, I think I taught a little bit. I taught, kids, not at schools, but just kids, like, to pay the rent,
Yeah, incredible.
And then I got the gig with Buddy Rich, and then probably around late 80s, that's when I met. I did a record with Michael Weiss, presenting Michael Weiss.
Yeah,
and that was my first gig. That's how I met Jerry Teekins.
Yeah, for the crisscross connection. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then after that, about a year and a half later, he called me. He says, you want to do a record? And I, of course I remembered him because I met him, about a year and a half prior. I'm not exactly how long, but it wasn't that long.
Feeling and Dealing happened, or?
Yeah, that was the first one. I think 89.
Yeah.
I
love
think so. Yeah. And then, then I did 5 records as a leader, and I did a couple as a sideman for Chris Ross. And that was over, and then we, I did I did a lot of records, not a lot, but CDs with other people, 2 years. Big bands and small groups, couple, and Non-Net. We did Non-Net. We won a Grammy.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's such a beautiful band.
Yeah. 52nd Street. Yeah. And then we did a couple of those, but a lot of did a lot of little different things.
Yeah.
And it was like it's been cool, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned Woody and Buddy. How was your experience with them? I mean, with Buddy Rich, I guess it must have been pretty wild compared to Woody. Like, I mean, what was your?
Okay, Woody Herman. He was hardly. I mean, we saw him on the bandstand, but he never drove the bus with us. He never rode the bus with us. It's not true.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Oh no, he always either drove or flew. Depends how far it was. He liked to drive. You know?
Oh, wow, interesting.
A Corvette or something. Don't quote me.
No, sure.
So I mean, I got, then during the time I got to know, Woody was cool. He was more mellow and okay, now Buddy Rich was total. He always rode the bus, and I actually liked Buddy Rich. He was nuts.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Not thinking. I mean, he was a musician, right? And sometimes he would really, he would want to hang out. So he would talk about Bird, talk about Frank Sinatra, talk about all the bebop records he did, because we liked that, And he was, and then sometimes, he went nuts, but he wasn't really that nuts. You could tell he was just crazy. He was just like, how can I put it? Well, when he was 1.5 years old, he was already on vaudeville. So he was always like, tampered, and people cradled him, he was a star always, and he was, a drummer, he was actually a freak, he was actually a freak on the drum. I mean, it was unbelievable. His technique now. I'm talking about his technical thing.
Yeah, amazing chops,
Yeah, it was incredible. He was a freak, Okay. But I always liked him because he was a real musician, and he he would talk to you, he would, and then sometimes, like I said, when he was in one of those moods, he fired everybody and all that. I'll tell you one personal story.
Oh, please, come on. I love that.
Okay. We were in Las Vegas, right? And there was this person sitting next to him who I didn't know. Okay. And I mean, anybody know. Okay. So we just played West Side. We finished with West Side Story. That's a big, closer, And then and inside the West Side Story medley, I have this tenor feature, and I've been playing it now for probably 6 months, right? And I knew we got along. We played duo a little bit for the melody, and then we went into a solo, with me, So, and it always felt, pretty good, and he never said a word about it. So anyway, I walk on the bus, and he's in his robe, because he sweats a lot. So he's the first one on the bus, changes, and there's this person sitting next to him. And I'm kind of walking past him. He goes, Ralph. I said, yeah, buddy, what's up? He goes, man, on that West Side Story, man, what are you doing? That sucks. What are you doing? What the hell are you doing, man? What kind of... And I wasn't really looking at him. My head was kind of down, right? I said, okay, buddy, I'll get it together. Okay, next night. Next night, we do West Side Story again. Same person's next to him. He goes, Ralph. I said, yeah, buddy, what's up? He goes, that West Side Story, now I'm looking at him. I'm looking right at him now. I'm saying, what are you? And then I could see he's hollering at me, but he's not hollering at me. His eyes are somewhere. He's not really, he's just talking, man. Okay, that's okay. Now I'm still in the band another year. We played West Side Story another 100 times. He never said a word. Okay? You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm talking?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I know. But that's what I mean. It wasn't like, but he would have to put on that little show for this person next to him.
Yeah. That he's like the boss.
Yeah, it didn't mean anything,
Sure.
I mean, sometimes it does, when he holler at us, sometimes, because he was like, he paid, he's paying us, and the band had a bad night, or his section had a bad night, or so even Steve, at that time, Steve Marcus was the guy, the lead tenor player, the guy, and he was on the band for like, 14 years, and he would holler at him sometimes, because because he was nuts, but it didn't matter, So I dug him because, like I said, we have sessions where he'd be hollering at us, and the next day he'd be sitting with us talking about Bird, and
yeah, it's amazing,
he'd be laughing and stuff, I dug him, I really did, He was a showman, but he was, he was a musician too, and he was around, man. He'd been there, with those guys and everybody else.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. You mentioned Steve Marcus. I wanted to ask you. We talked about Lovano and all these guys in the 70s, and when I look at the immense number of tenor saxophone players in the 70s in New York, it's scary. Like from Brecker to Grossman to to Liebman to Lovano to you to Bob Minzer. I'm leaving many guys out. Like, how was the atmosphere?
Oh, it was great. I loved it.
The 70s.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to hear. I mean, I'm one of these. I like to learn from people. You know what I mean? And you learn from those guys. I mean, Michael was a good friend of mine. Bob, of course, he moved to LA now. But,
Bob, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, Bob, because he used to play in the band. He used to play with Buddy, and he played with Mel. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? So we were I followed him basically. I didn't take his place, but I was behind him. He was a little older, and Steve Grossman, I became pretty good friends with him.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Oh, wow.
He was one of my favorites. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was.
I dug everybody. Michael, of course, and Liebman, like you said, Bob, but for me personally, I kind of dug Grossman because, I don't know, he had that little sunny thing in there too that I really liked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, such a point.
Because I'm kind of coming from that too. Train, obviously, but, and I got to know him and we played and all that, and he was crazy too, he was, he was nuts, but still, see, I'm from Pittsburgh, so I didn't take that. A lot of guys, oh yeah, Steve, but I said, Steve, please, and he liked that. He liked somebody standing up to him, but I didn't have to do that for long because, like I said, I remember the first time he heard me play, he says, Ralph, I knew you sounded like that. That's what he said. I just knew it. I knew you sounded like that. Whatever that meant. But I don't know if it was a compliment or put that, but I done what he said because because he was a pretty aggressive guy,
Well, what I've heard, yeah.
But I like that. I guess I like weird, but Lovano is the total opposite. Like he's like, Joey Love, So everybody's different. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes it interesting, of course.
That makes the world go around, sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Ralph, I wanted to ask you about feeling and dealing. How, we mentioned the Washingtons. They're there already. the sisters.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, Kenny and Peter, kidding. But how did you decide for that band? We have Barry Harris also, I mean, who unfortunately left us, and the great Tom Harrell. And how did that group happen, and how did you decide on that band for your debut? I mean,
okay. Well, Jerry called me, like he says, I want you to do a record. You're the leader.
Yeah.
And then, but then I usually some of these guys, like that own the label, they tell you who to use, right?
Yeah.
And he was one of them. He told me who to use, but he goes, okay, I want you to be the leader on this. I want you to use Barry Harris, Tom Harrell, Washington, Kenny, and Pete. I said, okay.
Sure.
That's what I said. That's what I said, So, I mean, I had some hearsay on, I mean, some input on the other ones, but the first one, I had no argument. I said, yeah, okay, that's fine. So that's what we did. And then and I knew Tom. I didn't know Barry. I knew of course. And I knew Kenny and Peter, and I knew Tom. But I didn't know Barry. And I said, oh, that's great.
How was it with him? I mean,
how
was the recording with him?
Wow, that was something else. It was a lesson. Well, I just remember one thing. I remember, other than the music, I remember, I had to write charts, and do little arrangements, write a couple originals. So I wasn't, and it wasn't that much time. It was a couple of weeks before the record. So I didn't have much time. So I wasn't practicing that much. I was writing and, trying to, everybody had, writing it out too by hand,
Sure.
And then writing tunes and, since there was a trumpet, I had to do little arrangements, either copy them, or figure them out myself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So make it a long story short, I'm at the record date. I'm looking at Barry Harris, and like I said, in my mind, I didn't practice that much for the last couple of weeks. Looking at Barry and looking at Tom Harrell over here, and the Washington sisters, were more my age, more my college, but still, I said, what the hell am I doing here? I remember that thought, and then once the music started, then I, you get into it, but I'm saying, man, what am I doing? I was like, really, it was like, wow, culture shock in a way, you know.
Yeah.
And when, once we start playing, you start grooving, man. I did it, So I remember that,
Yeah. But
Barry was cool,
were you comfortable?
I ended up playing some gigs with Barry too after that. So
Oh, really?
fun,
Oh, wow,
yeah.
man.
And we did his group. We did we had the Blue Note. We did Barry Harris Quartet.
Oh, really?
I was in it, and then it was Shirley Horn on the bill. Shirley Horn and Barry Harris Quartet.
Ooh.
So it was a week of that. So that was nice.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Shirley Horn in the band, and then we played. So 6 nights, that was nice. A couple other gigs with Barry, other thing, Cleveland, something.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was nice.
Yeah.
Barry was great. I mean, you learn so much.
Yeah, one of the masters. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
He's totally into music. That's it. Everything. I remember we would be standing there sometimes at the end of Shirley set, Shirley Horn set, and she would play something. Barry would grab my, hear that voice? Here. I mean, he was going nuts. He was like
So
a little
beautiful.
kid. I mean, it was great. That's what I'm saying. It was like what an environment to be in, This old guy, not disrespectful old guy, but this guy
sure.
been around and playing. He's like, he heard a voice and like tickled his fancy, like get excited physically, and you hear that, Granny, grab my ass. You hear that voice, man?
That's so cool.
I said, okay, man, this is my kind of environment.
Yeah, 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 amazing. Did you feel comfortable immediately being a band leader? If you think about it now.
Well, that was a little shocking. Like I said, that one moment when I'm being there and calling the shots with these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, in my first one. So I would say I was a little inhibited. And then when the music starts, though, things change.
Then it's different, yeah.
Yeah, you get a different vibe because you're in there together, and and then believe me, I'm listening and learning. Especially Tom Harrell too, man. That cat, everything he plays is a statement.
Incredible, man.
Yeah, he's like beautiful. But I knew Tom a little. I played a couple of jam sets, maybe a couple of gigs with him. Like big band gig. So I knew him. But I still, when you're playing with him, that could be inhibiting. Because he's so great. Every phrase. And I was much younger then too. What I mean. To me, I wasn't that good.
Come on.
No, in your own mind,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's like, wow, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But it's a learning. It's great.
Yeah, you mentioned you wrote tunes, right? And like microwave blues, and I like that one, and the one for the theme for Mel. And when I listen to your tunes, like they seem quite simple. That I mean, in a sense that you really love melodies. That melodies seem to be so important to you. I wanted to ask you, what's your process when composing, and how do you come up with the melodies and the themes? And
I don't know how I come up. Sometimes I just theme for Mel I actually wrote on the piano. I was teaching at NYU that time, and like what happened, and some student didn't show up, and there was a piano in the room before, and I just thinking of Mel, and I started playing it, and that's it, I just came up with it, but the melody was first. Though. The melody is very simple, definitely.
But it's so beautiful, it's always so strong always. I mean,
Well, that's what I mean. I like the melody to fit the harmony,
Yeah.
And then the microwave blues, it was just like, well, I'll tell you a story about it. I was playing with Michael Weiss, and Kenny was on the gig, but we were rehearsing actually. And Michael Weiss and Kenny started arguing about something. And then, just like, well, we got to do this. And I think Michael was the leader, so. But Kenny was still arguing, So anyway, and I remember saying, okay, put it in the goddamn microwave. That's what I said. I tried to end it, because I wanted to, rehearse, And then I went home and wrote Microwave Blues. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, put it in the microwave, man. I don't even know why. I don't even know if it makes any sense. I just said it, so maybe get a laugh to break the ice, you know.
Yeah.
It really wasn't that icy. I should see. It wasn't like, oh man, you know, gonna fight. It wasn't that. I was just tired of the nothingness of it. You know, nothing. What? Come on, let's play. You know?
Yeah, sure. I mean, of course.
You know, but that's a little inside thing. And that's how I wrote that tune. That's real simple. It was a shuffle. You know, I put it in D flat because I knew that's like that kind of good key for that. You know.
Yeah.
You know. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the only two originals on that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're really strong. I mean, it's like, you know, like nice tools for you. And you really then when you solo, you expand it like really harmonically and.
That's yeah. Because that's what I like. I like to have it like, you know. I mean, you know, I try to hear something. When I hear it, if it's simple or hard, I just rather, you know, I go with it. You know, you know what I mean. And then sometimes I have to change it, maybe, or you know, wasn't strong enough, or was, you know, or wasn't balanced, or you know. But still, I just go with what I hear, you know, and then expand it. You know, try to expand it. You know.
Yeah.
You know? I'm not a great composer by any means, but I like mostly like write the blowing tunes. You can blow on them too. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't like it so complicated where, you know, what do you blow on? What do you do with it? You know, I mean, that's just me. I mean, other people are great at it. So, you know, you know, and like I said, my roots are listening to the singers, to my mother, and, you know, and Stan Getz and Stitt, you know, they were real, like, you know, right to the point, you know.
Yeah.
Melodic, you know, it was very melodic. Hank Mobley, I always dug Hank
Mobley.
Oh man,
me too. I love Hank Mobley.
Yeah, you know, really soulful and melodic, and you know, and bopsters, you know, but still, you know. And then I like out too. I mean, as long as it makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Did you ever talk with Thad about composing?
Not really composing, but about playing. Yeah, yeah. He was so loose. He knew so much. It was ridiculous. You know, he just knew so much. Man.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
You know, well, I remember when he did a clinic at Youngstown. You know, he was talking, right, and somebody asked him, you know, like, Thad, how do you come up with all this, you know, incredible?
Exactly.
And you know what he said? He said, I used to listen to my brother modulate. In other words, his brother, meaning Hank. Hank is older, you know. He said he used to sit and listen to him practice, but he would say, I used to listen to him modulate. That was his words, you know. And I got another story about that.
Oh, please.
Speaking of little kids. Okay, I remember Lovano was playing at Birdland, I think, with Paul Motion and Mraz and Hank.
Hank, yeah.
I know he did some records, just duo, but he had a quartet too. Okay, so, and I went to, you know, where I hear him, and I just happened to have my horn, so I sat in. You know, so I sat in with these guys. And then the gig was over, and I was talking to Hank and talking to these guys, and I was talking to Hank. I said, "Oh, Hank, let me tell you this, man." He said, "When I was in college, blah blah blah, Dad did a clinic, and he said, make a long story short, he said, you know, I used to listen to my brother Marjorie, and he grabbed my arm and said, really? Dad said that about me, really? Dad, you said that my brother's dad?" I said, "Yeah, Hank, I'm not making this up." You know, so it's another guy. You know, he was thrilled that his brother, like, you know, said that he learned from him, and you know, and he would mention it to people. You know, that's what I'm saying, man. You know, that's people I grew up behind. You know, they just like little kids about this.
So humble, also in a way, right?
Yeah, humble, right? Yeah, humble and like eager to learn, and you know, just wow, it's ridiculous. You know, but anyway. That's what happened here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, speaking of Hank Jones, you know, I wanted to ask you also about Kenny Barron and George Cables, who you also, you know, you played with some of the best piano players ever.
Oh yeah.
How did you decide on Kenny and on George?
Yeah, I suggested. Did
you play
Kenny with
them already before? Or?
No, I never. Yeah, I knew him. I don't think I ever played with him. You know, but I knew him. You know, I've been hearing him play. I've talked to. I think he knew that I played the set. Maybe he heard me on a record. You know, that's what I mean. We never actually played.
Okay.
But he knew it, and he accepted to do it. So, and that was great. You know, that was different, but it was great. You know.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, and George Cables. I think Jerry suggested him, but not for that record. I said, why don't we use George Cable? But he did mention George Cable's, years prior, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then, and I think that was Leroy. I suggested Leroy Williams. He played drums.
Yeah.
And and then who played? I think that Peter. I think Peter played.
I think Peter is. Yeah.
Peter played that.
Yeah.
And Irwin too. Yeah. With Kenny, I think I suggested Dennis, and he knew Dennis. Jerry Tinkins knew Dennis. So that wasn't a problem. So it was Kenny, Dennis, and Kenny Washington. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Cables, and then like I said, I did Leroy. I suggested. I was playing with Leroy, a little bit there at that time. Different gigs and stuff.
Yeah.
I liked it. And then the other one, Peter Bernstein. Yeah. I wanted to. Yeah, I think I suggested that. And then the other one, Richard. That's right. He mentioned Richard Wyands through the years too. Yeah. And I always dug Richard, so we went with that too.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Music for. Jerry didn't like the title that much. He thought it put something on it, like
music for grown-ups. Yeah.
But I'll tell you, you know why I kind of pushed for it? Because at that time, my wife now, she had 2 kids, right? And I kind of raised them, when they were like 5 and 6. That's when I met Nicole, and so I kind of raised them. So at this time, they were about 15 and 16. And 7, and they were listening to all this, kind of bullshit music, that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. And I thought, I thought it was, BS, so to speak.
Sure.
So when I did that record, that's why I wanted to call it music for grown-ups. Because kids. I mean, not that some kids don't listen to jazz.
No, sure.
But it was like my statement. You know what I mean? And I wasn't bugged at them listening because, when I was a kid, I listened to what I listened to too. I just didn't listen to Sonny Stitt. I listened to, James Brown and the Temptations, and stuff that, that people that couldn't. I mean, my older people probably couldn't relate to,
Yeah.
But so I wasn't mad, but I still, I made my statement. Like this is music for grown-ups, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
so that's fine. He put it there. He did it. I explained it to him. Well, this is what I'm living. This is what I'm. This is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So he went with it.
It's a beautiful record. All of those. I mean,
Thank you.
It's like nice tunes. I like that muted melody. The tune that you wrote. I think it's on that one. And I think it's on that one. And Nonchalant is also on music from grown-ups.
Right? Yeah, I'm sorry. You just.
No, I'm saying. Sorry, I'm just saying that Nonchalant and Muted.
Nonchalant. Yeah.
New Kid are also on that record, right?
Yeah, New Kid. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I love those. Yeah, I love those tunes.
Yeah.
Beautiful records.
Thanks, man. Oh, thank you.
Otherwise, Ralph, I just wanted to ask you about your story with Joe. The Nonette seems to be quite an important unit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not seems, it is actually. Especially the front line. You with George Garzone and Joe obviously and Gary Smulyan and Tim Hagens. It's incredible. The horns. How did the story of the Nonette begin, and how do you see yourself as a part of that band? I mean.
Okay. Well, the story about it was Lovano. He was becoming more well known. So he was doing records with Alvin, all kind of different people, And he said, instead of doing this Nonette, instead of getting people that they want him to get, he's going to get his buddies. We all, grew up together in New York. Basically we all played. Like I said, he had a loft. We played together. So he's going to get his buddies, right? So that's what he did. He got his buddies to play on this record. He got Willie Faye Smith, who knew his father. He studied with Tad Dameron when he was in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
Willie did. So he did all Tad Dameron tunes called the 52nd Street Themes.
Yeah.
Because that was the bebop era, and hired all his buddies, and check it out. It was kind of another good statement. What happened? We won a Grammy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the
Incredible,
other records,
yeah.
all the stars at the time, you know, didn't win it. You know, I mean, they were good records, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, we won a Grammy.
Yeah.
I made another statement.
Yeah.
Did?
Yeah.
And then we did a couple other records, Live at the Vanguard. We did,
Yeah. I love them.
yeah, one more too. I can't remember the name of it, but we did 3 altogether. You know.
Oh, Streams
You
of
know?
Expression.
Oh yeah, Stream.
Yeah. Exactly.
Stream of Expression. Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we had a nice run there, but then then after a while, then Lavano's doing so many different things.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We're part of it, but it wasn't like the main thing. And then, but we did some stuff, And then the pandemic hit, and that made it worse. We did I think 1 gig since the pandemic hit. But but he's still keeping it alive. As you said, right now there's nothing, to do.
So it's basically like it's still an active group, or the net, or.
Well, I mean, we don't do anything.
No, sure, because of the pandemic, but otherwise it's still.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do stuff. Yeah,
really?
I think he mentioned something about Birdland, but in 23.
Oh wow, beautiful.
But it's not, it's not definitely.
Sure.
He just mentioned it to me on the phone.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But but in other words, he was talking to to Johnny there at Birdland. So so I think but I don't think we have a date yet. But it's going to be like sure. an early 23.
Oh, beautiful.
So that's what I mean. Things gonna happen, but
yeah.
Pandemic messed everything up.
Yeah. What about the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra?
We started again last Monday.
Oh, really?
31st of January. Yeah, we started like probably in September, I think it was. We did about 2 months. And then the other thing came, the Omicron.
Yeah.
And then some people at the Vanguard got sick, staff. So we shut down for 5-6 weeks, and we just started again last Monday. We're playing tomorrow too.
Really? Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, we're playing. Yeah, we're going to do Monday so far. I hope another variant doesn't come by. Yeah, we started. We're back.
How is it for you to play with those guys? It's like I saw some footage on YouTube, and it's Dick Oates and Rich Perry and you and Gary. It's incredible saxophone section. I mean, how is it for you to play with also those guys? Like, to play solos after Rich or someone like that. How do you change directions also when you solo? You just are yourself, or how do you envision usually?
Oh yeah, everybody has their own personality.
Yeah, that's
that's what it should be. Yeah, but still we have to blend. See,
exactly.
As a band, you have to, you blend. You get into, you try to make Oates sound good. I mean, no, he's the lead alto. You got to play where you're balanced, intonation.
Sure. Yeah, I know.
Phrasing, cutoffs. The balance. The balance of it. You got to get under like tenors. You got to get under Oates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then and then sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have to be not above Oates, but you have to be above something because of what your part is.
Yeah.
And then when you solo, you be yourself, develop yourself. And it's good, like you said, everybody's great. Everybody has their own
it's incredible.
voice. Yeah. And that's why I'm with it so long, because every week you learn something. I do. I learn from
I can imagine.
You learn from them, they have something to say, and it's all different. It's like great.
Yeah, it's incredible. You guys in that band, it's just like you said. I just, not to take more of your time, Ralph, I just wanted to ask you.
That's right.
You're learning all the time, right? Are there things you still practice now at home, or what do you work on? Let's say now, like what were you working in the recent period, or transcribing, or whatever?
Yeah. Well, I still, when I like something that I hear, I'll try to rip it off.
Really?
But not to rip it off as far as it's like to be a clone.
No, I know what you mean.
Like to be. I'm like more like try to be a disciple, because all the guys I ever liked and listened to, you could hear their influences. I mean, you could hear Birds, you could hear Joe Henderson's, Coltrane's. You know what I mean? So I don't understand these people that say you don't. I mean, I don't copy to be a clone. I copy to be like to absorb something I don't know. That's what I mean. If I hear something that they're going somewhere, what is that? And I'll try to then I'll learn from it, and then I put it into my playing maybe at first it might be a ripoff, but believe me,
then you blend it.
Hopefully, it turns into. I try not to play the same lick for 25 years. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because you really don't.
Yeah.
But that's what kind of I do that, and I still work on tone, and I learn tunes. Writing some tunes. I still learn tunes that I don't know, and I learn from that. You learn from melodies. And you don't listen to more like. Not modern, I don't want to say modern, but stuff a little more like where it's more open, listen to that stuff, And then a lot of, that's funny, because a lot of time when you, like if I transcribe somebody, I see, the good guys, I see how they're influenced by the guys I just mentioned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's amazing, they here's a story I learned from too. I read in the paper one time. No, maybe it was, I don't know. It was either I read it or I heard it on the radio. Somebody was interviewing Stravinsky. Okay. He goes, Stravinsky, you're one of the greatest modern composers of today. How did you do it? Blah, blah, blah. He goes, well, I just copied Beethoven, Wagner, Mahler, whatever, Bartok. I just know how to disguise it.
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like.
Can I say one more?
Oh, please.
I have his. I remember just how old this is. I taped this VCR. My VCR. I taped this show on Miles a long time ago. It was on Channel 13 here, education, and it was 2 hours. Okay, and make a long story short, at the end, Miles is sitting in the 74th Street apartment in Manhattan on the West Side with his braids. He's sitting there with his legs folded. And the guy interviewed him. It's the final part of the documentary, and he goes, "Miles, I know you don't teach, but what would you offer the young, jazzers, the jazzers, He looked right into the camera and he goes, "I would tell them to learn all the cliches." I said, "What?" Really, it flipped me out. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? That's what he said. This is Miles Davis.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Well, what do you usually tell your students, like if they ask you?
I tell them.
I
do that. I say that anyway.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I'm saying. I was shocked to hear Miles Davis say that.
To say that, yeah, sure.
Like I said, this is VCR. This is a long time ago. But still, that's I was actually starting to teach. I think I was teaching at NYU at that time. Actually, I just took Lovano's place, because Lovano was the teacher and I was sub for him a lot, because he was getting kind of busy. Yeah. And then finally he just split. So they gave me the gig, and I was just starting to teach there, And I'll tell you another story. Okay. I remember Joe Henderson came there to do a clinic and he was going to play duo with McNeely, Jim McNeely. Piano,
nice. Right? Yeah, sure.
Okay? So they did, I grabbed my student. I said, okay, the lesson is downstairs. So we go listen to Joe. He played, duo, a couple tunes, and then he started talking, and then the people asked him questions. Some kid asked him, Mr. Henderson, on that tune Isotope, when you go down, in minor thirds, how did you come up with that, as a turnaround, He goes, he looked at the kid, he goes, I wouldn't really worry about that right now. When I was your age, I listened to Lester Young. I think I copied 6 Lester Young solos.
Yeah.
And that's where I started to play the blues. I learned from Lester Young. And that's definitely true. I can hear that in his playing. Not that, he sounds like Lester Young, but in his content, I hear Lester Young sometimes. So definitely.
Yeah.
Especially the pentatonic kind of stuff. But anyway, so that was another example. Right there, So, and I didn't literally need them to tell me that, but it's reinforced in me that, that I, that was kind of my approach, And then, like I said, when you play, you ferment, you get.
Yeah, it's like making a soup or dough. Yeah,
everybody does that. I don't care what the people are talking about when they say, you got to have heroes,
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you gotta. Sure. That's with anything. If you're a lawyer, you study the guys you love, how they got out of their, whatever they did.
Sure. Yeah.
If you're a doctor, you're a surgeon, you check out the best surgeons. You know?
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't understand that. You know, I never did.
But it's so important.
Sorry.
No, sorry. I want to say how important is what you said, that many times now the younger generations, they're just, they would not go back to Leicester. They would just, listen to Chris Potter and transcribe his
Chris
stuff.
Potter, Michael Brecker. I know. I have students like that. Yeah.
Who I love. I'm such a huge fan of these guys. But like you said, going back to Lester and Coleman Hawkins and all these guys who, I think that's so important.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But
if you listen to those guys, I mean, Michael Brecker, he plays some bebop. Of course he's like trained,
Sure.
but I hear some of the bebop stuff he plays. He plays like the tritone substitution. Ed Bird did that.
Yeah, you hear the lineage. Yeah.
And then everybody else, who else did you just make? Chris Potter.
For instance, yeah, sure.
That guy's a total transcription guy. You know what I mean? Even now, I mean, you hear him play. Of course, everybody has their own stuff. I'm not, but still, you heard him play like Bird, and then I heard him play like Michael. And Wayne Shorter's in there a little bit. I mean, I don't understand.
But that's how we learn the language, right? I mean, it's like
right.
learning a language.
You
learn phrases and you learn your vocabulary, and I think that's so important what you're saying, actually. Yeah.
It's more. And those are the guys that can play. That's why they could play.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I kind of do that, but I still, like I said, I still practice saxophone, and like technique and sound, and like I said, I still learn tunes, and I practice things in keys, try to superimpose things in keys, and you find some good stuff there. You find, So I kind of use my ear and theory both at the same time. Yeah. Sometimes theory teaches my ear, Sometimes my ear, it might be theoretically wrong, but it still sounds.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, I love that. The other day, a student of mine wrote a composition, and it was like he had a major 7 chord, and it was like really some bizarre melody going on. He had a minor 7th and a minor 3rd in the melody going, but I was like, man, it should not sound good, but somehow it sounds incredible.
That's right.
I don't know why it is, but I was like, leave it,
leave it. Yeah, theoretically it doesn't make sense, but well, that does that too. Yeah. Everybody, Sonny Rollins, he does that. Everybody.
Yeah, bizarre.
Bird did it. It's ridiculous.
Bizarre.
That's what I mean. There's no rules, but it got to sound good. That's the thing. You got to have taste.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta have some taste. Yeah. You know what I mean?
True.
Not everything is because it's original is good. But then there is a lot of great originals. So that's what I mean. It's a matter of taste. It's a matter of taste.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Great, Ralph. Thanks so much for sharing some of these thoughts. So beautiful to hear you.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me.
Oh.